I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing this kind of story, but life has a way of throwing you into situations you never saw coming. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We got married pretty young, and honestly, for most of that time, I thought we had a good thing going. We weren't perfect, sure. We had our fights, her bitchy attitude could be a lot to handle, but I truly believed we were solid, or so I thought. From the outside, everything looked normal. We had our routines, work, weekends, nights out, vacations. Nothing major ever hinted at trouble. But about 6 months ago, I started noticing small things. She'd be more distant, secretive about her phone, brushing off my questions with some slick excuse about work stress or being tired. She'd come home late more often, claiming she was at the office when I'd catch her sneaking out of the house later than usual. Honestly, I tried to brush it off, telling myself I was paranoid, that maybe I was overthinking it. But then, the small signs turned into bigger things. She started wearing different clothes, more revealing, more flirtatious, stuff I'd never seen her do before. She'd get this little smirk on her face when she'd get a text or a call, like she was hiding something. When I tried to ask her about it, she'd roll her eyes and tell me I was being insecure or paranoid. Typical Lisa, always quick with a lie, always defensive. She'd call me clingy or jealous if I tried to get too close or ask too many questions. I didn't want to believe she was cheating on me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was going on behind my back. Then last week, I saw her with my own eyes. I was at a conference, an industry thing, you know. It's supposed to be all about networking, learning, and rubbing elbows with competitors. Well, I wasn't even supposed to be in town. I was just passing through, but I decided to check into the hotel early. I had a gut feeling something was off. I got into the hotel lobby, and there she was, Lisa, laughing and flirting with this guy I'd never seen before. Tall, good-looking, confident. They looked like they were having a good time, too close for just colleagues. My stomach dropped. I kept watching as they disappeared into a corner of the hotel bar, and I saw her lean in, whisper something in his ear, then they kissed. That moment hit me like a brick wall. I froze. My mind spun like crazy trying to process what I'd just seen. She was cheating on me, with a competitor no less. How did I miss all the signs? How did I not see this coming? It was like the floor was opening up beneath me. I felt humiliated, furious, heartbroken, all at once. I wanted to run over, to scream, to do something, anything. But I was frozen in place, watching my wife cheat on me, right in front of my eyes, at an industry conference I'd been so proud to attend. I stayed in the lobby, pretending to be invisible, trying to understand what it all meant. My head was spinning. I kept telling myself I was overreacting, that maybe it was just a fling, that she'd deny everything if I confronted her. But deep down, I knew this was real. This wasn't some accidental slip. This was deliberate, and she wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. The thought of her with him, the man I'd trusted her with, made me feel sick. I couldn't believe I was this stupid, this naive. How long had she been doing it? Was it just at conferences? Or was this going on for months? I didn't know, and honestly, I didn't want to think about it anymore. I left the lobby that night with 1,000 questions and no answers. I didn't confront her then. I just went back to my hotel room, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. The next day, I flew home with a heavy weight pressing down on me, knowing that everything I thought I knew about my marriage was shattered. I kept replaying what I saw, trying to find some rational explanation, but all I could see was her lips pressed against his, the way she smiled at him like he was the only thing that mattered. And that's where I am now, trying to figure out what to do next. The days after I saw Lisa with that guy at the hotel were a blur. I tried to act normal, went to work, pretended everything was fine, but inside I was a mess. I kept asking myself how I could have missed all the signs, how I didn't see her slipping away inch by inch. The worst part was the betrayal. I trusted her more than anyone, and she turned out to be capable of lying, sneaking around, and cheating like a damn pro. I spent hours staring at my phone, debating whether I should call her or just confront her face to face. I was furious, yes, but also hurt. How could she do this? Was I just a fool for trusting her? I kept going over all the moments I ignored, all the times she brushed me off or lied. It felt like I'd been living in some false reality that suddenly shattered into pieces. I wondered how much I didn't know, how many nights she'd spent sneaking around, how many lies I'd believed. Finally, I decided I had to confront her. I couldn't just sit around pretending everything was normal. The urge to get the truth, to hear her lie to my face, was overwhelming. So I called her that evening, told her I needed to talk. She was bitchy, of course, annoyed, defensive. "What's wrong, Mark? You're acting like I've done something terrible." She snapped. I felt my blood boil, but I kept my voice steady. "I saw you at the hotel last week," I said bluntly. Her eyes widened, and then she quickly recovered, giving that familiar sneer. "Oh, come on, Mark. You're paranoid. I was just having a drink with a client. Nothing more," she lied, her tone dripping with sarcasm. She tried to brush it off like I was overreacting, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I saw her kiss that guy, that I knew she was cheating. The silence on the other end was deafening. She kept insisting, "You're imagining things, you're jealous, you're insecure." But I knew better. She was lying, trying to gaslight me into doubting what I saw with my own eyes. The confrontation was intense. She yelled, called me crazy, accused me of spying on her, everything except admitting to anything. Her bitchy attitude was on full display, throwing accusations back at me like I was the one at fault. But I didn't care about her excuses anymore. I just wanted her to tell me the truth. When she refused, I felt a mixture of anger and sadness. It was like watching my entire life crumble before my eyes, knowing she had been lying and cheating behind my back for who knows how long. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing. The betrayal cut so deep. I kept asking myself how I let it get to this point, how I missed all the signs. I felt stupid, humiliated, like I'd been played for a fool. The worst part was knowing she didn't care. At least, that's how it seemed. Her tone, her attitude, everything said she didn't think she owed me an explanation. It was like I was just some inconvenience to her, a fool who believed in fairy tales. I started to feel a strange sense of clarity, like I was finally waking up from this nightmare. I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I needed to do something, but I wasn't sure what. Part of me just wanted to pack my bags and walk away, forget about her, erase all the pain. But another part, the stubborn part, wanted to fight for what was left, to make her see she couldn't keep lying and cheating without consequences. That's when I decided I'd dig deeper. If she thought she could get away with this, I was going to find out exactly how far she'd gone. No more lies, no more pretending. I needed the truth, whatever it was, so I could finally decide what to do next. Over the next few days, I couldn't get her out of my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with that guy, her lips pressed against his, the way she laughed like she was the only girl in the world. It tore me apart inside. I kept asking myself why she did it, what I'd done wrong, if I'd missed all the signs. Honestly, I was just devastated, and there was a boiling anger underneath that. I hated her for lying, for betraying everything we'd built together. One night, I was sitting at my desk, going through my phone, trying to find any proof, any clue that might tell me how deep this really went. I started digging through her messages, her calls, her emails. It was like peeling an onion, layer after layer of lies. I found some texts she thought she'd deleted, not explicit but enough to prove she'd been sneaking around. Flirty messages, some late-night texts with a certain John, always refusing to give me details, saying it was just work, just a stupid flirtation. But I knew better. I knew it was more than that. The more I uncovered, the more furious I felt. I didn't want to just confront her and get some half-assed apology or denial. I wanted to make her pay. I decided I'd take a different approach. If she thought she was so clever, hiding her affair from me, then I'd catch her in her lies and make her regret it. I started planning my revenge, thinking about what would hurt her as much as she'd hurt me. I wasn't about to let her get away with this without consequences. I also reached out to a few of her friends, people she trusted, people who might have seen or heard something. My plan was to gather as much info as possible. I told one of her close friends, "If she's been lying and sneaking around, I want to know. I deserve the truth." I guess I was trying to cast a wide net, to figure out just how much she'd been hiding. Maybe I was hoping someone would tell me she was just a bitchy girl acting out, but I knew deep down it was more than that. In the meantime, I kept pretending everything was normal. I'd come home, act like I didn't know anything, but inside I was boiling. I started to notice other things too, small signs she was trying to distance herself even more. She was colder, more dismissive, even more bitchy. Her attitude was like a shield, pushing me away, trying to make me doubt myself or believe I was overreacting. But I was. I knew she was cheating and I was going to expose her. One day I decided to install some hidden cameras around the house, just in case she slipped up. Call me paranoid, but I needed proof beyond the texts and her stories. I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore. I put the cameras in the living room, the bedroom, even the bathroom, anything to catch her in the act if she was really sneaking around. And I waited. The waiting was the worst. Every night I lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if tonight would be the night she slipped up or if she'd keep lying to my face. A few days later, I got my answer. I was reviewing the footage from the living room cameras and I saw her sneaking back late at night. She looked frantic, like she knew she'd been caught. Then I saw her talking on the phone, whispering, glancing around nervously. It was clear she was hiding something. And then late that night she left again, probably to meet him. I felt a surge of cold rage. I had everything I needed now. The proof was right there. I finally saw her for what she really was, a liar, a cheat, and someone who was willing to destroy everything we had for some fleeting sex with her lover. That was the moment I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had all the evidence. I knew exactly what she'd been doing behind my back. This wasn't just some fling. It was a full-blown affair, and she had no intention of stopping. I felt like I'd been hit by a freight train. The betrayal cut so deep, I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust again. But right then, I also knew I had to do something. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The next step was to confront her and finally put an end to her lies. The confrontation came sooner than I expected. I had been gathering my evidence, watching her every move, and finally I couldn't hold it in anymore. I told her I knew everything about the calls, the texts, the sneaking out late at night. Her face twisted into that bitchy, dismissive look she always wore when she thought she was in control. She rolled her eyes and snorted. "You're overreacting, Mark. You always jump to conclusions. You're just jealous and paranoid like you always are." But I wasn't having it. I laid out the footage from the hidden cameras, showed her the texts, the late-night phone calls. Her face turned pale for a split second, but then she snapped back, trying to be the queen of sass. "Fine," she spat. "You caught me. Yeah, I've been seeing him, okay, but it's not a big deal. We're just having sex, Mark. It's not like I love him or anything. It's just sex, for God's sake. You're making a huge deal out of nothing." I felt like I'd been punched again. That's when the anger really took over. How could she be so callous, so cold? She was trying to downplay it as if cheating was some trivial thing. I looked at her with disgust. "Just sex, that's all it is. You're joking, right? You've been lying to my face for months. While I was out working, you were fucking someone else, probably at conferences, maybe even during our trips. How many times did you betray me, Lisa? How many lies? How many nights did you spend in his bed while I was at home, thinking everything was fine?" Her eyes narrowed and she sneered. "You think I care what you think? Honestly, I don't give a damn. You're just some boring guy who's too insecure to handle a little fun. I don't need your reasons or your stupid feelings. I did what I wanted, and if you don't like it, tough. That's your problem." That's when I saw her bitchiness in full force, her attitude turning even more venomous. She was trying to make me feel like I was the crazy one, like I was overreacting. But I'd had enough. I told her she could keep her stupid excuses, her lying, her cheating. I told her I was done, that I wanted a divorce. The look in her eyes was like she was surprised I finally had the guts to say it, but then she just shrugged and said, "Go ahead, I don't care. You're just a boring, insecure loser anyway." I've never felt so humiliated in my life. That moment, hearing her call me a loser, was a slap in the face. I'd always tried to be a good husband, to support her and be there when she needed me. But she saw me as some weak, pathetic thing she could cheat on and then insult. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal and shame. I wanted to scream, to punch something, but instead I just stood there, listening to her bitchy attitude and her blatant lies. That night I packed a bag, feeling empty and numb. I knew I couldn't stay. The trust was shattered beyond repair. As I walked out of that house, I looked back at everything I'd built with her and I realized how much I'd been blind. I'd given her everything, my love, my loyalty, and she repaid me with betrayal. It was the worst feeling in the world, knowing she didn't care about the damage she'd done. All I could think about was how I was going to rebuild my life from this mess, how I'd learn to trust again, or if I ever could. The days that followed were a blur of shock, anger, and disbelief. I moved out of the house, staying in a cheap hotel close by, trying to clear my head. Every time I thought I had a handle on things, some new memory or realization hit me like a punch in the stomach. I kept replaying that moment I found her sneaking out late at night, the way she looked at him when she thought no one was watching. It was a nightmare I couldn't wake up from, and I was stuck in this emotional storm. I kept asking myself, how did I not see it? How did I let her manipulate me all this time? I kept feeling this burning mix of humiliation and rage. I was furious at her for cheating, but I was also furious at myself for being so blind. I had trusted her blindly, believing we had this perfect life, and she just used me. Every day was a struggle to hold it together, to keep from breaking down completely. I felt betrayed not just by her, but by everything I thought I knew about my marriage and my own judgment. I reached out to a few friends, people I trusted, to talk. Most of them told me I had to consider myself lucky. At least I caught her early before it went any further. But honestly, that didn't make me feel any better. I was devastated. I'd always believed Lisa was a bitchy, difficult woman, but I never thought she'd be capable of this level of betrayal. Now, it was like I'd lost a part of myself, and I didn't know how to put the pieces back together. Some days I'd think about going back, trying to work it out, but then I'd remember that kiss, that sneaking around, her callous attitude. It all felt like a betrayal I'd never get over. I kept thinking about revenge, how I wanted her to hurt as badly as she'd hurt me. I knew that was toxic, but I couldn't help it. I wanted her to feel the pain, to know what it was like to be humiliated and betrayed by the person she was supposed to love. That's when I started to hatch my plan. I was going to make her regret what she'd done, not just walk away, but leave her with scars that would remind her of her mistake. I decided to take control of the situation. I started by filing for divorce, making everything legal. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some pushover, that I was serious. I also started talking to a lawyer, gathering evidence to make sure I'd get a fair settlement. I wasn't interested in revenge just for the sake of it. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. Meanwhile, I also contacted some of her friends, people she trusted, to see if they knew anything more. I wanted to know if she'd been cheating on me for a long time or if this was just a fling. I asked questions carefully, trying not to tip her off. I knew her type. She was manipulative and bitchy enough to lie her way out of anything. But I also knew that if I could gather enough proof, I'd have the upper hand. The hardest part was dealing with the emotional fallout. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, constantly battling between sadness and rage. I kept questioning everything, myself, my marriage, her. I'd lie awake at night, replaying everything, trying to find some way to make sense of it all. But there was no sense, only pain. And the bitter realization that the woman I once loved, the woman I trusted unconditionally, had betrayed me in the worst way. I've never been so broken in my life, but I also knew I had to move forward. I couldn't keep living in this nightmare forever. I decided that I'd take back control, rebuild my life, and learn from this. Somehow. I knew I'd have to learn to trust again, but for now, all I wanted was to make her feel the sting of her betrayal, the way I was feeling right now. It was the only way I knew how to take back some power, by making her see what she lost. After everything that happened, I finally sat down one evening in my new place and really took stock of what I'd learned. It's funny, life throws these brutal curveballs, and you either let them break you or you find a way to stand back up. I chose to stand. I realized that trusting someone blindly isn't always the right move, especially when the person you trust turns out to be someone you barely recognize anymore. Lisa proved to me that beneath that bitchy, manipulative exterior was someone capable of deception on a scale I never imagined. Looking back, I see how her lies and betrayal changed me. I used to be someone who believed in loyalty and honesty, who thought love was about trust and respect. Now I know better. People can hide so much behind a pretty face, behind a false smile. I learned that sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to keep your guard up and watch closely, even with those closest to you. Because the truth is, betrayal can come from the most unexpected places, and it's usually the people you least suspect. I also learned that revenge is a double-edged sword. It gave me a sense of justice, a way to reclaim some control, but it also left scars I'll carry for a long time. In the end, I decided that I'd never let her define my happiness or my future. I've started focusing on myself, my career, my friends, my passions. The pain is still there, but it's getting quieter. I've come to accept that not everyone is who they seem, and sometimes love is just an illusion we tell ourselves. Most importantly, I've come to realize that I deserve better. I don't need someone who lies and cheats. I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. Things I thought I had with Lisa, but clearly I didn't. I'm not perfect and I'll make mistakes, but I won't let this heartbreak consume me. Instead, I'll use it as a lesson, a reminder to be cautious but never completely closed off. So here I am, finally moving forward. The pain still lingers, but I'm stronger for it. I don't hate Lisa. She's just a chapter in my story now, one I'll eventually close. I'm rebuilding my confidence, trusting again slowly, and learning to love myself more than I ever did before. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this: don't let betrayal destroy you. Use it to learn, to grow, and to become better. Because at the end of the day, the only person you truly owe honesty to is yourself.